Everybody, welcome to Perpetual Motion, a podcast focused on self-care, communication, and positive relationships. I'm your host, Dr. Mo Anderson. In each episode, I interview thought leaders from all over the world who share tips and tools to boost your personal growth. My guest today is Jennifer Hernandez. As a teenager, she fell into a life of rebellion, drugs, promiscuity, gangs, school dropouts, and pregnancy. She even spent some time in and out of mental health hospitals. Her journey from the trauma she endured as a child to becoming one of the top real estate lenders in the country is so inspiring. It's a Cinderella story. Everyone trying to overcome a difficult past needs to hear. She joins me today to discuss her transformation into a powerful businesswoman and her new book, No One Can Stop Me But Me. Stay tuned for a big dose of inspiration and motivation.
You can't say Dr. Mo ain't tell ya that fear magnifies the consequences of failure. What are you scared of? Why are you afraid? I'd rather live like I'm dying than live to die. Any day, my heart is pure, my soul is safe.
Welcome, Jennifer.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Mo, for having me. It's such an honor for me to be here with you today. I appreciate it.
Likewise. I appreciate your time and great energy. Let's start at the beginning. When we spoke before, you shared with me that your mother left when you were 11 years old and your dad was abusive. How did you overcome the challenges you faced in your childhood? And what advice would you give to others going through similar experiences?
So just to touch on that, we had no idea that my dad was abusive, and the thing is that he was my only parent for so many years, and I wasn't even aware. But obviously, he's 100% Italian. He has a temper, and we swear at each other. That's our normal communication, So for me, it wasn't like it was abuse. It was just that was my norm.
Right.
So I had no idea as a young child, and he was only on the weekends before, so I didn't get like the full dose. And he was only, 30, trying to be a father to two kids like full time versus just being the weekend dad where you got to take us out. So it was adjustment for all of us, and we had no idea, and honestly, he had no idea. And it wasn't until really I started acting out, and I had no idea why as a child. But as I became 13 years old, I started running away, looking for love in all the wrong places, escaping through drugs and alcohol, that was masking my pain, which eventually led me to hanging out on the streets of Chicago. And that's where I found my family, people who accepted me for who I was, just as I was.
Yeah. And sometimes we have to choose our family, the family of origin. It doesn't always, the connection is not always there for whatever reason. And you can, find a family. And I like too that you said you didn't know it was abusive, because so many of us grew up in situations and that's all you know. You're not in other households. Right.
Yeah, this is my norm. It wasn't abuse to me. It was normal.
And
until I became a mom and I started to see where it was like not okay. And then I'm like, and honestly, the emotional damage that was caused, I just realized like 2 years ago.
Right.
I'm 44 years old and just figuring out. And the reason why is because without my dad, I had no one. So how could I see any of the damage that he caused? To me, it was like at the same time my mom left. So I thought it was all because of the abandonment. And I didn't really know the rest compounded on top of it. And that's why, I was running away, because my system knew that I just couldn't take it. It wasn't okay for me.
And there are two sides to every story as well. Like you said, you get to be an adult and you reflect. As a child, you're not thinking about, gee, my dad's young. He's a single parent trying to raise children. This must be very stressful, going out in the world and coming back. So there are other things as we grow older people are like, I don't even think about my past. I want to forget about it. Well, there's some things you do need to think about, right? Because it's impacting the way you behave today, your mindset and limiting beliefs and the things that, I talk about on this program a lot. They start there. You can't keep blaming mom or dad, but you need to understand why you are the way you are.
Yeah. And it's so funny that you touch on that, because that's the thing that we need to realize too. He was only doing what he knew.
Right.
You see, he didn't get the love that he needed. He got that tough love that he was giving me. Like that it all comes from somewhere, So they know not what they do. Just like when I became a mom at 20, like I didn't know that swearing at my children was probably not a good thing.
Right.
That was my norm. That was how I was raised. How am I to know any different? So as I got older, I was like, oh, this is not good. Like, this is just not good. And that's when I started to go through my process of like healing. Like we all know not what we do, and we have to be able to forgive because they didn't know either, And I'm grateful because I did did all the work that I needed in order to be able to be healed and to know that these are the things. But truthfully, just 2 years ago in my work is when I figured out that it was the emotional abuse, was what I was really running from too.
And yes, you said it, you gotta do the work, and it's painful going back and revisiting those things, but that starts the healing process, which is leads to my next question. Some people never really heal from that childhood trauma because they don't recognize it, they don't know how to deal with it, and so forth. I'm wondering, what role did faith play in your journey of healing and self-discovery? Because you just used the line that Jesus used on the cross, they know not what they do. But for you, did faith play a role in your journey of healing and self-discovery?
Yeah, absolutely a huge role, because every time, it's beautiful because every time I was stripped of everything, right, and found myself like I had to cut off my family at a point, and everyone around me. And the only one that I had was Jesus. And that was a huge part of my healing. I would literally, every time I would go to church, the message was like so to my core that I wouldn't even wear makeup to church because I knew that like I'm going to come out looking like
crying. Yes, I know.
So I'm like, and then it's funny, I couldn't find my mascara one day, and I'm like, oh, I'm sure I'm going to be a basket case today too. So sure enough, when I went there, it's just, I didn't walk out with a dry eye ever. And that was a huge part of my healing and discovery. And then just recently I received the Holy Spirit, and it's just been a beautiful, beautiful journey that I've been going through. So, and my father is definitely leading the way. So
that's nice. That's very good to hear.
Yeah.
We know that, Jennifer, we know people can look great on the outside while being very wounded in their spirit, in their heart, because of things that have happened to them in the past. Could you share some tips on starting the inner healing process?
Yeah. So one of the first things that I had to do was actually, it's funny, I created these No One Can Stop Me But Me bracelets for this reason.
I like it.
I had to wear rubber bands on my wrist. And every time I had like a limiting decision come to my head or a limiting belief, I would snap myself for months, just to teach my brain to remove that. Like, oh, I don't look good enough. I'm not good enough for this. I'm fat. I look ugly today. Whatever, anything negative, like you have to stop the negativity. We are what we feed grows. And that is just always going to be a thing. You need to get back into church. I know that we're all looking for different ways. And trust me, I looked for different ways. I did the psychic thing and some other things. But the truth is that if you just go there, and especially if you're hurting, that is the most important time. That is the only thing you can count on. And the only person that you can count on is God, who will always be there for you. He's always with you, and he knows what you're going through, and he's got a divine purpose for you. So it's very important for him and for you that you get through it, and I will tell you, because you guys can see on my social media, it looks like I have been living a fabulous life for the last couple of years. And I have to tell you, it has been the most difficult time I've ever experienced in my life. And I've put myself through some things. And you will look and you will think that some of those pictures, some of those photo shoots, I literally cried for 24 to 48 hours the whole entire time before. My eyes are puffy. I couldn't breathe. It was really bad because this work is painful. It hurts and it's going to be the most difficult thing you ever do. But the beautiful thing about it is that if you heal the mother, heal the father, you heal the family. The generational curses will stop. You will break that cycle. And it's very important. Our children now, because there's so much more knowledge of what's going on in the world and, healing and everything else, they're going to require that you do your work at some point. So you might as well stop and do it for you so that you can live the life that you've always desired, and the other thing is you have to know what you desire in life or like what you want. Don't look at your circumstances in which you're living. You have to look at where you want to be. When I was living payday loan to payday loan and negative in the bank, I had to say to myself that, the money's going to come. It's going to be here. And sure enough, a check would show up in the mail as long as I stayed strong. When I cried, why me? I just brought on more of that. So you have to see where you want to be and know that it's going to be okay in order for that to get easier for you and for you to surpass that. And I will tell you, new levels, new devils is no lie.
Oh, yeah. That's why they say be careful what you pray for, because as you enlarge your territory, bigger beasts and monsters, they're coming for you. They are coming for you.
And be okay when he isolates you, right? He's isolating you because he needs you isolated.
Yeah. So. And you draw closer to God. We share the same faith. I speak about my faith with no shame because that has gotten me through. If I didn't believe in a higher power, girl, if I thought this was it, the wars and the dysfunctional government and the shootings and stuff, I would lose it. I have to believe there's a higher power and a bigger purpose than what I know. And as you shared that's it. You got to do the work. It's painful, but otherwise you're just sitting in it. You're just staying in it. To move out of it is painful, right?
Yeah, it's funny because, there's all these different beliefs and stuff like that. But if we think about it, like everything in life, it all comes back to what's written in the Bible, right? Do unto others as you will have done unto you, right? We will reap what we sow. We don't have to. Fear is the devil. It's not God. God says, cast your fears upon me and all will be okay. So it's not, it's all there. So I don't care what you believe. It's all coming back to that. Those things that are written, because the truth is it's very funny and people don't realize this. What you do to others will come back onto you. Like you don't have to be mad at that person. Trust me, they're going to deal with it, and I've experienced it in so many different ways. And I'm telling you, that's why it's very important for me. Like I try to teach my kids the lesson, in what they're doing wrong. Like when they're mad at someone or whatever they're doing wrong. Like I try to say to them, like, okay, this is why I need you not to do this, because I don't want you to call into your life. And you will. Right. If you don't know, then you will call in the lesson just to teach you not to do it. And we have to treat others the way we want to be treated. So absolutely. And you can call it karma. You reap what you sow or whatever. But as my grandma used to say, what goes around comes around. And it's for sure. It's for sure. So be careful what you're doing and learn how to forgive quickly. Forgive quickly. That's deep. You seem so focused and purposeful now. A lot of people are really struggling to find their purpose in life, and that is, you can't, if you don't know where you want to go, it's hard to pick a direction. So you end up all over the place, right? What do you advise people who are struggling with finding purpose, which you clearly have done in a magnificent way? Yeah. So I would say to definitely hone in on the things that make you feel good, right? So for me, when I got into the mortgage business, I didn't understand why I was so great at it. And it's because ultimately I'm helping people, and that's who I am. And then what I started to notice when I took like a like a seat back and I looked at like my life, I realized not only was I helping people, but everybody who had came into my life, like I had helped them rebuild their credit, get a home,
Mhm.
get
Mhm.
cars, in some way I was impacting everybody that I knew. And so I was like, well, that makes sense. That's why I love this. That's why it doesn't feel like work. I see a lot of people struggle and they're not happy in their career. Guys, then quit. This is your life. You're the only one who can make the decisions to what you want to do. Do not stay somewhere where you're not happy. You have to move. And I understand fear of not having the money and everything else will keep you there.
Mhm.
But you have to pick a pain. Do you want to be painful every day when you go to work and you hate what you do? No, you want to feel whole and you want to do something that's in alignment with you, because then it will not feel like work. So
Mhm.
that's the thing is a lot of times we get signs, right? Just like
Right.
there was a story in the Bible where someone was sent a boat and they kept thinking it was not for them. Well, the thing is that God is constantly sending us the signs.
Mhm.
It's just, are you paying attention to them or not? Are you
Right.
looking at them and saying, why did this show up for me?
Mhm.
What is your belief as far as like what happens in life? Like for me, I believe that everything is happening for me, not to me.
Not to
This is
me.
happening for
Yes.
me. This person is being removed for me because he knows the conversations that I don't know.
Mhm.
This job is being removed for me because there's a greater one coming.
Right.
And in order for me to evolve, I have to move. But fear is the devil and it will keep you where you're at. And so that little negative voice that we all have, every one of
Yes.
us have it.
Absolutely.
You have to be able to muffle it. And that's why that limiting belief thing that I said earlier is so important, because I feel like that's like, all those negative thoughts, we don't need them. They're not serving to us.
Mhm.
They're doing nothing but keeping us where we're at and not allowing us to go where we're trying to go.
So true. So true. And it's funny how we can be more negative and critical about ourselves than anybody on the outside, anybody online. And I think sometimes women are even worse at it than men, but it just, you're holding yourself back. And I am not going to be my own worst enemy. I've got enough of them
We
that
can ruin
are
our own
doing it.
life. Like we can
Yeah.
literally ruin our own life and take us on some path that we don't want to go on. And that's the other thing. This is very important. I'm actually going to go live on this when we get off, but it's
Okay.
very important that everybody, your mother, brother, sister, uncle, daughter, you guys are not doing anyone any favors by allowing people to be negative, to think that the
Mhm.
world is against them, to speak negative thought or to speak negative on people. We
Right.
have to hold people to the higher standard. Like if you have somebody who you know is better than that, call them to their higher self. They don't need you to coddle them and be like, "Oh yeah, let me talk about this person with you. Let me
Mhm.
feed into that negative thought that you think the whole world is against you right now."
Right.
No. Guys, we need you to say that is, that's not true. There's no way that can be true because everything wouldn't, I don't believe that everything is stacked against you right now. You have to help shift them into a positive way. They're just going
Right.
through something. We all go through something, but guys, we need you to hold us to a higher power.
Absolutely. And talk
I just
about
feel like
solutions more than we talk about problems. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
I love your energy around this and your passion. Hey, you mentioned the mortgage industry, and that leads us to my next question. A lot of people, men and women, struggle with work-life balance, especially with technology. You could literally be trying to do both all the time. I'm wondering how a single mother of 4 has balanced motherhood with learning the mortgage industry and becoming one of the top real estate lenders in the country.
It has not been easy.
Let's start there, that part.
It has not been easy. And I will tell you, my kids have been frustrated with me many times because in my industry, and especially because I had so much struggle, if I don't answer the phone, I might lose the deal that is going to pay our bills. And because I was a single mom and it was just only me, it was very, very tough. And they will say, me and my daughters are going through healing right now. And all of my children, actually, we're healing because, they have some trauma with that because I had to put the job, like I had to allow it too much time and I shouldn't have gave it as much as I did. But we all, I was learning and trying to do the things. But now I definitely have gotten myself in a position to where, I ignore the phone. I set certain hours in which I'm taking the calls. And that's really what you need to do, because otherwise you'll have to be like me and go back and try to heal the trauma that you caused your children from the job because you gave it too much time. And then also, for me, another thing that happened was because I have such a giving heart, I did so much for other people. I kept taking in kids and helping them. And so it put a sour taste in my kids' mouth as far as like helping people, because they felt like between the job and me helping other people, like took so much time away from them that I could have been.
Them.
Yeah. So it's tough. It's really tough. And when you have a servant-driven heart, I think that there's just, we just need that dedicated time. All they really want is our time. It doesn't matter about the things we can buy them, but the vacations and the undivided attention and time is the most important. But like, I always showed up. Like, I never not made it to, we have to make it to their events. They're whatever they're involved in, you have to be there. So
yeah, I love that. When they score the basket and look over just that little second to make sure you saw and that you're cheering for them, and I've said it time and again on this show, at the end of it all, when we're gone, when they're at the funeral or the wake or whatever, nobody is ever talking about, oh, it's so great how mom worked all the time. That is not the memory, and that is not the characteristic that they admire, is that you were there for them and the times and adventures and the laughter. And yeah, I've been that girl. I was a single parent after I got divorced, and it's hard trying to balance. I need to feed y'all to I would love to cook and eat with y'all. And what I did is that I made sure my kids understood the decisions I was making. I mean, we talked about finances and bills and income and all of that. And they thank me to this day, even though they were young when I started it. Like, why are we here? Why are we talking about this? When I had to do something that took me away from them, they understood why. They grasped it and what was going to be the result of that was going to help our family. And I think that's important too, that they know the reasoning. And a lot of times as parents, we don't share that. We're just, mommy has to go deal with it. So you've got some lucky kiddos. They got a bad mama. So.
It's beautiful though, learning the lessons. And then for me to be able to help like them, like, because I've healed, and I'm still healing, because it is a process. It's an ongoing process. It's not like your work is ever done. We're all imperfect beings in a very imperfect world. So it's very important that you continue. And I want to make sure that my kids learn how to love themselves and heal the trauma that I imposed onto them, not knowingly, because I didn't know. I know not what I do, right? But now I do. So now I have to fix it. And so me helping them like heal and learn how to love themselves, like I feel like is the most beautiful thing, because then they won't, be doing that after they become a mom and waiting till they're 40 years old to figure out how much trauma I caused them, So it's beautiful.
Great lessons learned. And we got to pass it on. We got to pass that on too. So in 2008, what a year, the real estate industry crashed big time and you lost everything. And you've been so wonderfully transparent and talking about this being a process of growth. It is a continual process. But I'm wondering, when that happened, after you had built these things up, overcome so much, that had to be heartbreaking. Did you have any doubts about your ability to recover, or did you just bounce back and, hey, I can do it again?
No, it was not that easy. So that's why I said it's very beautiful when you're stripped of everything, because that's really when we always go back to God, number one. Number two, it's always when we decide that you can no longer ignore your problems and talk about other people and involve yourself in other people's problems. You literally have to look in the mirror. You have to look in the mirror because you have no money to run on a vacation or go on a shopping spree, and you have to deal with yourself. So 2006, I gave birth to my twins. And so 2008, when it started crashing, I was obviously not prepared for that. And It wasn't until 2010 that we actually pushed the Christmas tree out the door of the house, but I was extremely depressed. And I would just cry.
Wait, stop. You lost me on the Christmas tree thing. 2008 to 2010. Is that some kind of saying, or did you have a tree in your house for 2 years?
No, well, I was still living in my house, but I lost the house the week before Christmas in 2010. We actually had the Christmas tree up, and we had to push it out the door. And
okay. I was like, what? Gotcha.
No, we literally did that. We pushed the Christmas tree made out the door. So it was an interesting time, but I got super depressed, and it was so beautiful because like the kids wouldn't know it. I would just like go sit in a corner and cry, or sit in my car, like on my drive home, and just cry, and it's, I will tell you, I did see then like who was really there for me, and there really wasn't anybody there for me at that time.
Wow.
And so I was the one who needed to be there for me. And my daughter was an actress, and she had done a film. They won awards, and the lady came and dropped it off. And she's like, I'm like, I have stories. If you run out of stories that, can really impact the world. She's like, you can impact the world through film. And I'm like, never thought about that. So that day I literally went upstairs and started writing my story. So that's how I started writing my book, which was in 2010. It wasn't done until 2022.
That's okay. You got it done.
And so reflecting on everything that I had been through in life, I was like, losing these material possessions is not the end of me. There's no way. So, and it was only like when I went back and reflected on like how much I had already accomplished and been through, I was like, there's no way this is the end, And so when I lost everything, I just knew that I wasn't really happy. I realized I wasn't happy in my marriage. And the truth is that I had a broken home, and I didn't want my kids to have the same. So I was sacrificing myself for them because I thought that was what was right to do. But then I realized that I had lost myself. And I was so sad. And so I was involving myself in other people's problems, and I was talking about people because it prevented me from looking at myself and dealing with me. And so I could no longer do that. I had to deal with me, and we ended up getting divorced and lost everything, and, had to go about our own journeys.
So, and is all of that in the memoir? We're a few weeks away from the publication of your new book. As of this recording, this is evergreen, so it may be out by the time folks hear it, but no one can stop me but me. Or is some of the inspiring stories you're sharing, are those in the book?
Yeah, I put it all in the book. There's obviously a lot more detail. I try to get it all into one, but there is so much in that book and so much learning on what I went through and where I was. And I tried to share with you as much as I could. And then kind of up until present day, because obviously I spoke about 5 years ago, I was still living payday loan to payday loan to keep the lights on. And then in 2021, I had my heightened level of success, making over 7 figures and closing 180 million in production in the mortgage business, becoming number 1 in the state of Illinois for FHA lending and top 1% in the country. So it's just been, thank you so much. It's been a beautiful journey. It is not easy though, guys, I will tell you, but what is harder for me is to stay where I was. So there's always a hard. Either you take the hard route of going through it and really being honest with yourself and becoming 100% responsible for all of your life, or you stay stuck where you're at. We all have to make the choices.
We do. I love that you said pick your pain, because I believe pain is a part of growth, whether you're a butterfly in the cocoon or a person trying to move up the ladder in your career, or a parent, which is the hardest doggone job I've ever had.
The hardest.
the hard. I'm not kidding. And I've done some hard stuff, but that's a tough one. And it never, ever ends. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever done. The greatest part of my life, but very much the hardest.
It is
Very
our
much so.
greatest accomplishments, like who our children become, that's our greatest accomplishment.
Yes,
So
it really is a good feeling. I share with mine all the time. I want to know what you're doing, not because I'm nosy, because I feel you're part of me. I feel like we did this, and
we
you
definitely
just
did this.
you're just happy for them that they made it despite your despite your flaws and mistakes, that they become good people, and we just want them to be happy. So
Yeah.
no one can stop me but me. Please, before we go, Jennifer, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much. Share how to order your new book and connect with you online.
Yes, you can order the book on Amazon. It's on Target, Simon & Schuster. It's on every website available. No one can stop me but me. You can connect with me on Instagram at I am Jen Hernandez. It's JENN Hernandez. And I'm on Facebook as Jennifer Braglia Hernandez. Also, if you are denied for a mortgage because of my life circumstances, I have been able to craft solutions for clients who have not been able to get into homes. Also, agents, if you have deals that get denied, we need every deal to count. So please have them take a second look with me. And I am all over the country as well. And you can go to approvedbyjen.com. It is approvedbyjen.com. And that's
Sweet. And thank you for providing that information and being specific about how you can help people, because it is, especially for first-time home buyers, it's so confusing and there's so much happening. So it's great to have someone like you with expertise and understanding, because those are two different things. And you have got a big heart and a great story. I wish you all the best, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mo. Thank you.
This has been so inspiring. Listeners, I hope you've gained as much as I have from this wonderful interview with Jennifer, this conversation, I should say. She's just taken us on a beautiful journey, and I feel like we can all do great things and make some better decisions just having listened to this conversation. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share for more like this weekly episodes. And please visit my website at drmoanderson.com to book me as a speaker and learn more about my books and services. Until next time, be well and be safe.